Hare Krishna, Mukund Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna,
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandal
Hare
Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Vaishnavatai, Hare Krishna, Saudi.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, everybody.
Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jai.
All the Shamal devotees ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Mukund Bhagwan. Kanchan Mataji, wonderful Kirtan. So thank you again for joining our regular weekly Friday satsang. And Ajit Krishna Prabhu is yet to join. So until then, what we can do is quickly I will read out the health status of His Holiness Jaipataka Swami Maharaj. So many of you have already got this message, but Brajesh Govinda Prabhu, you want to read out?
Yes, I can do that, Prabhuji.
Yes,
Thank
please.
you. Jai Sisi Jaipataka Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Sisi Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This is the health update of our Guru Maharaj Srila Jaipataka Swami. This is the date of the Friday 8 January 2021. Indian Standard Time is 22, means I think so, 2 o'clock. Then this is Mahabara Prabhu. He's the secretary of the Jaipataka Swami Guru Maharaj. He already did the update. He says, dear God family, disciple and well wisher of His Holiness Jaipataka Swami Maharaj. Guru Maharaj today is a little weak and having elevated sugar level, but is holding up quite well. The next few days are crucial and the doctor's team is working 24 hours to keep a watch on Guru Maharaj parameters and clinical condition. Presently, we all should intensify prayers for Guru Maharaj and his servants to get oil, and also pray for the well-being of the doctors team who are supporting the ground team by being available 24 by 7. Our heartfelt gratitude for all those devotees who are praying and chanting and performing the austerities. Please join the 24 hours Sankirtan. Also, the organize. There is a Zoom link. If you want, then I can send up to this our group. On behalf of the health team, this JPS Sheba committee, the Muhabara Prabhu already sent this message. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Very nice, Prabhu. So, in a nutshell, Maharaj is doing okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
So that is very wonderful, Prabhu. So we'll still keep on chanting. We can do extra rounds whenever we can.
And Prabhuji, sorry, I also updated one more thing. We have the Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj one apps. If you can, anyone can download it. The Android and also I'm Apple iPhone supported this. There is all update is there. Is anyone can this apps download your phone. You can also do that. You can do. There is a lots of function also there. You can get the update every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. And please share that in our Bensalam WhatsApp group.
Sure. I'll do that, Prabhu. Thank you.
For all of us. Thank you very much, Prabhu. And we see that Ajit Krishna Prabhu has joined. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dhanar Pranam Ghosh Prabhupada.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hope
Hare
you are
Krishna.
well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranams.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanar Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dhanar Pranam Mataji. Hare Krishna. How are you?
Yeah, okay, seems like everyone is in today.
Mm-hmm.
The full house. So, yes, Prabhu, we will continue.
Okay, Prabhuji. Well, we're very thankful that with the prayers of the devotees, the mercy of the Lord, His Holiness Jaipataka Swami is doing well. And by Krishna's mercy, he will be fully recovered very soon. So, Well, actually, I just realized this is the first class that we're doing in the, no, this isn't the first class in New Year. Last class was the first, yeah. Okay. So I think maybe we should just start with the recap of the previous class and the verses, and then we'll continue from there. So if somebody would like to do the recap.
Any volunteers?
Okay. We've been again talking about, like, we are continuing to talk about the soul. And last class we said the soul not only fills with the consciousness who we are, that's the knowledge. Um, um, it has the like the Paramatma is recording everything, like remembrance of our material desires, spiritual progress, according spiritual progress also, and accordingly we'll get a new body. So, and also at the end we were talking about like our what is our goal or the resolution. We said like we have to surrender to Krishna, and how it is like by following all the 4 regulative principles. That way we can surrender to him.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. I think that touches all the main points that we had covered last time. If anybody else would like to add to that, please.
Can I add couple more, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, like in 18 and 19, mainly, like Krishna made it very clear that nobody has the authority to bring, like Arjuna was confused, like how can we kill? So it's made clear that nobody has the authority to bring anybody to an end. That happens only at Krishna's will. If someone knows this truth, then they won't think that they are becoming the cause of someone's death. So that way, Arjun won't feel lamenting, like why me, like that. And then another point also, the process of transmigration, that is shloka 21 and 22. It is clear that if anyone who has the knowledge that soul cannot be destroyed, then why will anyone think that they are the cause for they're the cause of killing? He won't accept. One exception you told us is that slaughterhouse and violence, that's not acceptable. We cannot think, that's not for the killing. And then the importance of our goal should not be the transmigration, which is a cycle of birth and death. Our goal should be to go back to Godhead. That should be the goal. And then at the end, 2 questions, like what to surrender and how to surrender. And what to surrender is, and how to surrender. So the answer is that if we follow the 4 regulative principles and sadhana bhakti, then surrender to the spiritual master, then that would answer for the question for Arjuna's where, like, okay, if we are executing devotional service, and if we are surrendering, how? And this was the answer that was Krishna was saying. Yeah, and that's just couple notes I thought I can add.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Those are all points that we had covered last time. So thank you for sharing with everybody. Anybody else? Any other additional points?
Krishna also says Arjuna body cannot be preserved, and at the same time soul never takes birth or never dies. So those 2 points.
Right, body can never be preserved anyway. So
I've already killed these people. You are just an instrument.
right.
Yes, Prabhuji, body can never be preserved and soul can never be destroyed. So that sentence goes easy way.
Right. So very clear descriptions of the nature of the body and the nature of the soul given by Krishna in order to help us understand the position that we are in, actually. So, anybody else? Any other additional points? Okay. So if not, then we'll continue. So we had gone through. Just remind me again, please. I actually my marker moved. I know we had done verse
22, Prabhuji. We finished 22.
Okay, so we'll start from 23 today.
What's this?
23, and I think since this is more of the same topic, I mean, we can do maybe more than 2-3 verses today. Maybe we'll do about 4 or 5 verses. So if somebody would like to start reading with verse 23, please.
Varun Krishna Rangam is ready to do. He's practicing. So
Yeah, lots of hands are going up. It's very nice.
I didn't see the hands actually, but is that okay? Varun Krishna Rangam. Varun Krishna Rangam. Go ahead. Okay, hold on.
Nainam chindanti sastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nachinam kledayantapa, nasashayati marita.
Oh, very nice.
Soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor
Withered.
withered by the wind.
Thank you, Tarun Krishna Rangam. So next, Prajna Mataji.
Achedyo adayo yam adayo yam.
Achedyo ayam adayo ayam.
Akledyo shosya evacha.
Akledyo ashosya evacha.
Nitya sarva gatarstana.
Nitya sarva gatasthana.
Achaloyam sanatanaha.
Achaloyam sanatanaha.
This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble. There can nor be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Hare Krishna, Bhagavad.
Hare Krishna.
Suhrit Prabhu.
Avyaktoyam achintyoyam.
Avyakto ayam achintyo ayam.
Avikaryoyam uchyate.
Avikaryo ayam uchyate.
Smad evam vinam.
Tasmad
Tasmad
evam
Tasmadevam
Nana Shochantam Arhasi.
Sochitam Arhashi.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immovable, and should not grieve for the body. Thank you for the.
Very nice. And Brinda.
Which sloka?
26.
26. 1 second. Atachainam nityajatam.
Chainam nityajatam
Nityam va manyase mritam.
Nityam
Vamanyase
Vamanyase
Mritam.
Tatapi tvam mahabaho.
Atapi
Mahabaho.
Nainam shochitumarhasi.
Nainam
Nam
sochitum
sochitum
arhasi.
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
You want us to do one more sloka, Prabhu? Or?
Sure, yeah, we can do one more.
Okay, we'll see there. I'd like to do. Yeah, go, Prabhu. You have your kids?
No, Ji, I'm here. I can read it, Ji.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur
Yatas
Tatasya vivamitam.
dhruvam janma mrityascha.
Janam
Janma
Tasya
mrityasya
cha
Tasmad aparhyarya rite
tasmad
aparyaryate
natvam sochitam arhasi.
natam
natvam
sochitam
sochitam
arhasi.
arhasi.
For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is pain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I think we will discuss then 23 to 27. Those are the verses we've covered today. So let's start with the invocation prayer. Om Agyan Timirindasya Gyanjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So 23. Nenam chindanti shastrani, nenam dahati pavaka, na chenam kledanti apo, na shoshati marutaha. So Krishna is giving Arjun a lot of instruction on the nature of the soul and the nature of the body. And this is key because this is giving us a true understanding of what we really are and who we really are. And so Krishna is emphasizing here that Arjun, you or any of these other people who are assembled here on the battlefield, they are all spirit souls. You may be seeing the external body, and that is fine. But remember that beyond the external body, they are spirit souls. And so this chapter 2, because it is called the contents of the Gita summarized, it covers actually all of the main topics that are basically covered in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 topics that are covered. One is who is God And Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. That's one shloka where he says that I am the Supreme Lord, everything emanates from me, and I am the source of all creations. And there are various other verses too where Krishna establishes his divinity and he demonstrates that he is God. Then the second topic is, who are we? We are spirit souls. And so here in these verses, Krishna is elaborating and explaining to Arjun what exactly a living entity is. And each living entity is actually a spirit soul. And so that is topic number 2. And we are now at that part in the discussion of chapter 2. And then, of course, the third topic is, if we are spirit soul and Krishna the supreme soul, what is our relationship with him? And that relationship is one of master and servant. We are servants of Krishna. So what should our activity be? And that's the third topic, that is karma. And Krishna basically, Bhagavad Gita is focused on bhakti yoga. Our activity should be activity of bhakti, activity of devotional service to Krishna, activity of trying to do everything, whatever we do. But if it is done with the mentality of trying to serve Krishna through it, or to please Krishna with our activities, then that becomes bhakti. So that is the third topic. And fourth topic is about eternal time. And time only exists in the material world. There's no time limitation in the spiritual world. You see, the cycle of time, the 4 yugas, and with each cycle of 4 yugas, then you have multiple cycles of 4 yugas like this. And so these are only in the material world. And this is the whole concept of time. Time is only a factor in the material world. So without going too much into the other topics, so Bhagavad Gita focuses on us being spirit souls and not this material body. And that is what Krishna is emphasizing here. Now, one of the things that Prabhupada explains in the commentary is that Krishna is talking about us being spirit soul multiple times. In this set of verses, there is some repetition. And we are seeing that there is repetition. Krishna is explaining from different angles to Arjuna that you are spirit soul, and so you should not lament for the body. That's the point that he's making, but he's making it in multiple ways, and there is repetition. And Prabhupada says that repetition is actually okay. That is part of Sanskrit has this style where repetition is allowed. And especially for a spiritual topic, repetition is allowed. Why? Because we are conditioned souls. We are in the material world. We are constantly under the influence of Maya. And if somebody tells us once in our life about spiritual topics, we will forget it very quickly. And so for us, repetition is very important in order to be constantly reminded about spiritual topics. Otherwise, it is very easy for us to get distracted to material topics, to get distracted by material considerations. So that is why for our benefit, this repetition is allowed. So Krishna says in text 23, Nenam Chindanti Shastrani. So he's talking about the qualities of the soul. He's describing what the soul is like. And he says Nenam Chindanti. Chindanti means cannot be cut to pieces. Nenam Chindanti Shastrani. Shastrani mean by any weapon. Then he says Nenam Dahati Pavaka. Pavaka is fire. And he says it can never be burned by fire. Then Nenam, then Chenam Kledyanti Apo. Kledyanti meaning if you try to drown it, put it in a lot of water, that's also not going to work. And na Shoshati Maruta. And Maruta is wind, Shoshati can be dried. Why is Krishna talking about all these properties of the soul? He's talking about these properties because Arjun had weapons that were that could produce these natural elements. So Arjun had fire weapon, wind weapon, fire, wind, water, tornado. So Arjun was expert in all kinds of warfare, and as part of the instructions that he had received, the part of the skills that he had learned, he could create fire, he could create a flood with an arrow of his, or he could create tornadoes, very strong wind. So Krishna is saying, Arjun, you are here to fight, you are going to use all these weapons, but these weapons might destroy the bodies that you're seeing, but they will have no impact on the soul of any of these people. So that's why Krishna is bringing up all these properties, because Arjun may be thinking, okay, that Krishna, what happens if I use my tornado weapon? So much of water and wind will come out of it. So Krishna is saying, don't worry, that's not going to do anything to the soul. So that's why Krishna is explaining all of these properties of the soul. Again, what that demonstrates is, whether it's the wind weapon, fire weapon, or which are some of the other ones. Cut to pieces, nenam chindanti. I mean, Arjun had his sword was obviously, swords are sharp, and he was an expert swordsman. So Krishna is bringing out these points that all these weapons, what they can do is they can harm the material aspect of somebody's existence. Meaning the sword can cut somebody's body, the wind can drown somebody's body, and all those kind of things. But it can do nothing to the soul, because soul is spiritual in nature. There is a basic difference: spiritual, material. All these weaponry that you're talking about, Arjun, they are material. They can only affect the material body. They cannot affect the soul. That is Krishna's point. Then he goes on to text 24, where he says, he gives further properties along the same lines. He says, Achedyo ayam, unbreakable, so you cannot break it. Insoluble, Dayo ayam, Akledyo shosha evacha, nitya sarvagata sthan. And so it cannot be burned, cannot be dried, cannot be moistened, cannot be broken. None of these things can affect the soul. And then he says, therefore, the soul is everlasting. Nitya sarvagata sthan. Nitya, everlasting. Sarvagata sthan. He is everywhere. Sarvagata sthan. Whether there is fire or wind or anything, soul is not affected. It can go through fire also, no problem. And immovable and eternally the same. So Krishna is describing all these properties to convince Arjun that none of his actions are going to affect the souls of anybody around him, only the bodies. Okay, and then in 25, just to complete this description of the characteristics of the soul, Krishna says that the soul is invisible. Avyakto ayam, achintyo ayam, avikaryo ayam uchyate. Avikaryo, unchangeable. And we'll come back to this point, unchangeable, avikaryo, in a minute. Avikaryo ayam uchyate, tasmad evam vidit vevam. So he says, therefore, knowing all of this, nanu shochanti, do not lament. Krishna is saying, you focus on performing your duty, and if you are worried that these people will die, don't worry about that aspect. That is under my control. You perform your duties. Now, avikaryo. Avikaryo meaning unchangeable. That's a very important aspect for us to remember. If the soul is unchangeable, then think about the different positions of the soul. What I mean is, the soul can be in a material body, like we are at this point. We are in material bodies and we are in the material world. But our soul is unchangeable. It's come from the spiritual world. That means, what is the nature of the soul? It is spiritual. And where does it actually belong? It belongs to the spiritual world, where Krishna says, if you come back to the spiritual world, you get a spiritual body. For people, for devotees, for those interested in Bhakti Yoga, which is considered the topmost rung of the yoga ladder, when we talk about serving Krishna in various ways, Bhakti Yoga is the highest. So some yogis think that they can achieve liberation by simply merging into the Brahmajyoti effulgence of the Lord, and that's fine. That's their goal. But higher than that is to realize the super soul, meaning to be able to see the super soul. And higher than that is to get residence in Sri Goloknath Dham, meaning in the spiritual world, in the world where Krishna resides. But if we get residence there, what will happen? Will we have bodies or not? And Krishna is saying, yes, we will have spiritual bodies. And the spiritual body, nature of the spiritual body is that it is not subject to birth, death, old age, or disease, like the material body is. And so that is why Krishna is saying, look, Arjun, the soul is unchangeable, whether it's in the material body or the spiritual body. The soul is spiritual in nature, so keep that in mind. So this is a very clear description to us about what exactly we are, and therefore it ties into what we should be doing with our lives. Meaning, if we are trying to lead our life in such a way that Krishna is merciful and kind to us and allows us to come back to the spiritual world, then that is the success of life. That is the success of life. That is the goal of our existence. That is the goal of life. And so all of these verses are pointing towards that focus. The reader of the Bhagavad Gita, by understanding the nature of the soul, starts to think that, should I come out of the cycle of birth and death? Should I want to go back to the spiritual world? Naturally, because those are the topics that are being addressed here. And we find that Krishna is emphasizing that we are spiritual in nature because the soul is unchangeable. Now, these are some, Krishna has been giving these arguments to clear Arjun's doubts about, about the nature of the soul and about his duty. Now in text 26, Krishna changes his approach a little bit. And he says, Atha chainam nitya jatam. Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam. Meaning, atha chainam. Atha means if or however. Krishna says that, okay, Arjun, if you don't believe in the soul and all these kinds of things, if you don't believe in this spiritual reasoning and understanding, then even if you look at it from a worldly view, let me give you some considerations, some things to think about. So Krishna says, if you think that the soul or the symptom of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament. Because people say, look, we haven't seen the soul, we don't know if the soul really exists. Let us think about what we are doing here and now. And so Krishna is addressing that also. And he says that, you see, there are many different philosophers who have different views. And so here he says that if he says, if Arjun, if you don't accept the existence of the soul, if you don't accept the existence of the soul, and you say that they are just bodies who have developed life symptoms after a certain combination of matter and all that kind of thing, then he says, then everybody is just a lump of matter. And eventually at the end of the day, if everybody is just a lump of matter, then why are you so concerned about destroying matter? As it is when you shoot your fire weapon and tornado weapon and all these things, so much matter is destroyed. So Krishna is approaching this argument from multiple angles. And why he's doing that is because for our benefit, because in society today, and even in the past, it was a fact that there were people who had spiritual inclinations, who were inclined to believe the word of Shastra, and there are others who say the word of Shastra goes beyond our common sense. It goes beyond our common sense. Let me try to think about this or reason this in a commonsensical way. And so that's why Krishna is giving these arguments also. And then text 27, he says, one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after that one is sure to take birth again. So he's saying if that cycle goes on repeating, then in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So he's telling Arjun, you focus on your duty. And if you think somebody is, if somebody dies, is going to be born again, or if somebody is born is going to die again, then that cycle will continue. You don't control it. Why are you worrying about it? Because you focus on discharging your duty. Because by not performing your duty, you are incurring sinful reaction. So why are you declining to discharge your duty? So these are considerations, these are arguments that Krishna is giving to Arjun, so that anybody who's listening to this discussion, regardless of whether they have a spiritual focus or if they want things to be reasoned out to them, they can think about it from these different angles. Now, it's interesting. One of the, actually, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, he gave a very powerful, simple but powerful quotation, where he said that if somebody thinks that they can understand spiritual truth on the basis of their power of reasoning, then they are underestimating the depth of spiritual topics. See, our power of reasoning is very limited. I might be able to reason up to a certain point. Somebody else may be able to reason better than me, but they'll also have the limitations. But at the end of the day, every human being's power to reason is limited. As a simple example, we all know through our sense of touch what the meaning of hot is. If we touch something which is 50 degrees centigrade, it will feel warm. If we touch something which is 100 degrees centigrade, which is boiling water, it will feel very hot. It will hurt our skin. Now, the scientists say that the sun's temperature is like some 1,000 degrees. We cannot possibly estimate what that even feels like. It is 6,000 degrees. We can only estimate or feel what 100 degree feels like, and that feels very, very painful. What will 6,000 feel like? We have no idea. But it is a fact of nature. It is a fact of Krishna's creation that the sun is at, I'm just making up this number 6,000 degrees. I don't know actually what is the temperature of the sun, but it is some fantastically high number. And by a power of reasoning, we can say that, yes, I cannot even imagine what the temperature of the sun at the sun feels like. So if we can accept our limitation on topics that are very obvious to us, like the temperature of the sun, then I think it is only logical that we accept our limitation when it comes to our inability to understand various things such as the existence of the soul. If Krishna says the soul is 1/10,000th the tip of a hair, that's the size of the soul, how can we disprove that? And if he's explaining that the soul has these following properties that we just discussed, we have no way to disprove that. So it makes sense to accept it because it's coming from authority. Because it's coming from authority, and that is the whole point of spiritual topics, that you hear from somebody who is an authority. So we are hearing from Krishna. We are hearing from an authority. And that is what makes it bona fide. So in text 27, and actually in text 28 also, and since we haven't gone there yet, but the same point that was made in 27 is being made in 28 also. So to summarize, in all these verses so far, Krishna has tried to explain to us repeatedly that the nature of the soul is that it is unaffected by material elements. And so from Arjun's perspective, Krishna is saying, Arjun, you focus on performing your duty. Do not focus or try not to get trapped by considerations that prevent you from discharging your duty. So what that implies is that performing duty is very important. So somebody might say, what is my duty? Duty, and that's a very important question. You might say, what is my duty? As a father, I have so-and-so duty towards my children, to bring them up, to provide for them, my family, and so forth. As a worker at my job, I have following duties. As a father, as a husband, as a brother, as a son, as daughter, wife, mother, we all have duties. That's fine. But in addition to all those duties, and over and above all those duties, because we are spirit souls, our real duty lies towards our Supreme Father, which is Krishna. Because these are the duties associated with our body, they're temporary. The duties associated with our real identity, those are permanent. So Krishna is emphasizing to Arjun, please perform your duty. Takeaway for us is, we should perform our duty. And which duty? Most important duty is devotional duty. Because when we perform devotional duty, all other duties are covered by it. If you're trying to please Krishna, there is no way that you will not perform your duties as a parent or a father or whatever properly. There's never a conflict between performing duties towards Krishna and performing duties towards our bodily relations. So Krishna is emphasizing to Arjun, please perform your duty. Message to us is, we need to perform our devotional duty. And again, it comes back to what we had discussed in the last class. Krishna's final instruction about Gita is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Am Tvam Sarvapapebhyo Mokshishami Masuja. So Sarva Dharman Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Just come to take shelter of me, surrender to me. That is our prime duty. And Krishna is emphasizing that to Arjun, therefore emphasizing to us that take shelter of Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna how? Through following the four active principles, chanting, hearing, performing sadhana bhakti. That is surrender. And Krishna will accept that and he'll be pleased by that. And as we perform that, our hope and prayer is that by the mercy of the acharyas, they will plead to Krishna on our behalf to accept our service. Because our service will never be perfect. It will always be imperfect? Well, because we are imperfect. We are not pure devotees. We are trying to be devotees, but we are not pure devotees. At least I am not. And so our hope and prayer is that our acharyas, they have very mercifully given us this process. Krishna appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give us this process, to simply distribute this process so that as many people as there are in this world, they will accept this. And if they accept that they are servants of Krishna and they try to serve Krishna, Krishna will be pleased because he's merciful. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for our desire to try and please him. So that is kind of the summary. It all boils down to that. So I'll stop here. I'm sure there'll be questions, comments. So let's go ahead with the discussion, please.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for such an elaborate explanation. So I have a basic question related to the material miseries, the birth, old age, disease, and death, right? So in this material universe, we all know that we all have to go through this, including the creator, Lord Brahma. Okay, even he has to go through his birth, death. So I've never heard about old age and disease about Lord Brahma. So have you heard, or have you do you have any insight about that, Prabhu? If at all he gets disease, what kind of diseases he gets? This is just
Specific to Lord Brahma, I have not heard of old age and disease for Lord Brahma.
They always say death. I know Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. We know after that he dies, but does he die because of disease or because of old age, or what is it he dies?
He dies because of the time factor.
So there's no death, old age and disease there?
I have not read about it. I don't know, just like yourself, Prabhu. The only thing I know about Lord Brahma basically is that because he is the first created being in this material world, and he lives for 100 celestial years. Is just for the benefit of everybody else who may be thinking 100 years, not our 100 years, but 100 celestial years, which is like some
4 trillion, 300 billion
4 trillion, 300 billion years. So at the end of that period of time, the creation is dissolved, and Brahmaji goes back to the spiritual world. So I don't think there's any, or at least I'm not aware of any disease or old age consideration for him. And everybody on the Brahmalok planet, I mean, they all are automatically elevated to the spiritual world at the end of the 100 years.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can we say that because they have spiritual bodies, they won't get affected by old age, disease, birth, and death?
Actually, my internet may be a little slow, or maybe it was yours that was slow. Your voice was breaking up, Madhuri.
Your internet is slow.
Can you hear me now, Prabhuji?
Yes, Madhuri, go ahead.
Can we say that because they have spiritual bodies, they are not affected by birth, death, old age, and disease?
They meaning Brahmaji and those on the Brahmalok planet?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
So
they're not in the material platforms, right?
Actually, so Brahmalok is also part of the material creation. It is the highest planet in this material creation, but it is part of the material creation. So the spiritual body one gets only when we go out of this material creation into the spiritual world, which is, Vaikuntha planets or Sri Goloka Dhaman Dham. So that is where we get spiritual bodies. But in the material world, everybody has a material body. On different planets, the standard of living is higher than it is here. Just like within this material world or within our Earth planet, standard of living is different in different countries. And, everybody comes to America because we think that standard of living here is higher. But same way, different planetary systems in this material creation have different durations of life and much higher standards of living. But they are all temporary. And so that's why Krishna says, don't try to elevate yourself to heavenly planets, because that will give you joy for some time, but that's also temporary. Come back to the spiritual world where you are eternally blissful and happy.
But in any of the pastimes or stories, at least I have not heard any of this who lives in Brahmaloka and other planets suffering. Oh, this person dead, this person got this. Like that, we have not heard anything. I mean, I have not heard, but how can we say that they may have suffering?
No, we are not saying that. So Brahmalok obviously is the highest planet in this material creation. I don't think, I can't say that there's any suffering there. But what we are saying is that the planet also comes to an end. When Brahmaji dies at the end of 100 celestial years, the entire material creation, including Brahmalok and all the other planets, they are dissolved. So this entire material creation is dissolved. And those who are on the Brahmalok planet, of course, they go back to the spiritual world. But others, they will again take birth in material situations. But the time frame, what we are talking about, is unimaginable. So,
Okay, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have a question. Two things I want to talk to you about. Isn't Lord Brahma considered as a demigod? So he must be living according to, just like Lord Shiva, he must be living like Lord Brahma is also equal to Lord Shiva. So each one has their specific functions to perform.
right.
So in that aspect, I don't think they are bound by any of the birth and death. Like what we normally suffer, they are in the higher degree or higher level of manifestation by Lord Krishna. So they may not go through like whatever we think our suffering is in our limited knowledge.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And another thing I want to know, because we all come from unmanifest, I read it. I don't know whether it is chapter 331. We come from unmanifest and then we are manifested. And then we are going to be dissolved, like, even again, going back to, unmanifest to manifest. That is the middle stages. We do that. And then we are going back, dissolving ourselves, or everything dissolves, going into, the dissolution. Everything dissolves into the higher being, going into unmanifest stage again. So I think when we are considering this, maybe the Brahma, as per whatever the time period he has to be dissolved too. According to Lord Krishna, everybody listens to Lord Krishna, and they are acted according to the rules of Lord Krishna. So do I understand this unmanifest we all start with, and then we manifest in the middle of the creation process, and then Lord Krishna dissolves everything, and then everything goes into not exhibiting the characteristic or not visible characteristic, like unmanifest stage again?
Well, yeah, basically when we read about unmanifested and manifested, that simply refers to this material creation. And so Krishna, when he desires to create this material world, then all these material varieties are manifested. And he has a structure. And at the end of 100 celestial years, which is like 4.3 trillion years, it's a very long time, then it is dissolved again. and then it comes into being again. But Krishna is saying this is only the material world.
Mhm.
Those, because we are spiritual in nature, Krishna is saying don't stay in this material world, because this is manifested, unmanifested, destroyed, born, dying, all this goes on only here, not in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everybody is blissful and everybody is engaged in serving Krishna. So that is why he's making the point that we truly belong in the spiritual world. We are by nature anandmaya abhyasa.
Mhm.
We are blissful by nature.
Mhm.
And that's why we are looking for happiness at all times.
Yes.
Everybody's looking for happiness, because by nature we are spiritually, we are happy. But now we are in this material world, we are wondering, where is happiness? Where is the happiness? So we're looking for it. And Krishna is saying the happiness you're looking for is in the spiritual world. So come back there. So manifested and unmanifested pertains only to the material world. And it is manifested. Krishna's material energy is manifested. And when he says, okay, now time to finish, then it's unmanifested.
So so this is only for us human beings, whatever it is existing in this world. It does not concern, it has nothing to do with the outside Brahmalok or any other world.
Well, so Brahmalok and the other lokas are also part of this material creation. So they are also most of the, when the material creation is wound up, those lokas are also wound up. The spiritual world is the place that is completely eternal. And if I'm not mistaken, I may be mixing my facts up. When the material creation is wound up, I think it's either Dhruvaloka or one of those planets which is not wound up. But anyway, that's a technicality that I don't remember at this point.
So Brahma doesn't suffer like whatever we are going through. Whatever suffering we mean, it doesn't happen to him. He's a demigod. So
correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Whatever imagination we have, our suffering, we think it is to our limited conception. We think this is the suffering of a human being, but he doesn't have to go through that because he is in a higher position.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Prabhu. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, sir. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Just out of curiosity, I'm asking this question. Like, we understand that every person has his own karma package with him. Every person, for that matter. And does Duryodhana also have something behind, like some story or some previous birth or something, which makes him do whatever he is doing here in Bhagavad Gita?
So in other words, what is the background story of Duryodhana, that he has been born in this, with this
Yes,
mentality?
Prabhuji, because I've never read, at least for his father, we have read like how he became blind, a little bit at least. But about Duryodhana, I have not read anywhere. So I thought probably if you can.
That's a very interesting question, actually, Mataji. I don't know. I have not come across any backstory to Duryodhana's past, and why they were born, and 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, why they were born to him, and with this mentality that they were opposed to Krishna. I do not know, Mataji. In fact, if somebody knows, or if somebody comes across this story, please share with us.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
That's an interesting, very interesting question.
Probably in Google, again, I don't know whether it's correct or not. In Google, it's given that he's the demon Kali. This is the demon of Kali Yuga.
Huh.
He represents the demon of Kali Yuga.
Duryodhan.
Yes, Prabhuji. So, I don't know.
Yes, Google is just a brief.
That's very interesting. I actually don't know what is the backstory to that.
So coming back to like whatever we discussed today, Prabhu, I have another basic question, maybe some.
Yes, sir.
So for the soul, right, it needs a body in this material world, correct?
Yes.
Material body. So material body, should that be a body which is in motion, which is active, or it could be any form which is not in motion, in the sense that a stone, okay, a mountain, or soil, a mud. So they are not in motion, but they're all material structures. So why couldn't the soul take or enter into a mountain? Why soul needs a body which is in motion like us, or any of the other creation, right? Jalaja navalakshani stavaraha laksha vimshati. So we know that 8.4 million species, right? Why only these? Why not in stone? Why not in mud? So why can't it be in fire if it is emotion required? So why can't soul enter into all these things?
So, well, I mean, as you said, some of the 8.4 million, some of them are immovable bodies also, like those are the trees. You see, and due to karma, somebody gets a tree body also.
Yeah, we consider tree as living being. So
right,
it's not, because it moves. You know, by wind it moves, and it acts. You know, it generates carbon, oxygen, and takes in carbon dioxide. So it does some activity, right?
Right. Right.
Talking specifically about that stone or mountain, you know, those have still material body, but they don't act upon anything, or they don't respond. So why can't it take those kind of soul can take those kind of material body?
So as far as mud is concerned, or these fire is concerned, you had mentioned, these are the material elements, and these are the elements with which the body is made. So these are amongst the 5 elements with which the body is made. And so just the element itself is incomplete. So in order for somebody to have a body that is fiery in nature, I mean, Prabhupada says, I mean, even on the sun planet, you have, or even in our world, we see there are these fireflies that can exist in fire. They fly in and out of the fire, nothing happens to them because their body is suitable for being in fire. But fire is one element, and earth is another element: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So that's why the body is composed of these 5 elements, and one element may be predominating. So like in fireflies, the fire element is predominating. In our bodies, I don't know what is predominating. Maybe it's a balance, because we have, I mean, blood is all water, chemicals, rest are earth, there's fire in our stomach, you know. So I think, now to your point about why cannot a soul be in a mountain, I think there are stories about mountains being represented, mountains being people also, when they are Parvat and Himalaya Parvat,
Yes.
They were persons, isn't it?
Yes, but they're persons, but actually the mountain itself is not a person. The mountain where they were flying, and but there was a presiding deity for that mountain. It's not that there's another personification for that mountain. You know,
Right.
mountain itself is not alive.
Right. Because it's just part. It's just one element. And so element by itself is inert. And it's only with the presence of the soul that the elements become conscious.
So, Prabhu, you are saying mountain has no consciousness because they are just stones. They are immaterial, lifeless. But I thought Indra just cut the wings off. They used to fly around, and it was a nuisance for Indra. So he cut the wings of those king, who was supposed to be at the mountain. That's how he was stationed in one place, so he cannot move around too much, cause problem to.
Yeah, and those would be specific and special mountains, like Mukta Sangha Prabhu was saying. There are specific ones. There's a presiding deity, but not every mountain and not every landform is a living entity.
So, according to you, the soul exists only in the living, breathing substances, living beings, so-called living stavara, like plants, animals, aquatic.
The 8.4 million species. So some of them are.
I think Srila Prabhupada at the end of his this material body, when he was about to leave, he says, and this is said in Ishopanishad also, animate, inanimate. Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkinchat jagatyam. So that says animate and inanimate. Is in everywhere. That means wherever Krishna is there, then there should be a soul also. That's what my understanding is, but I don't have much details about it.
So you're saying, Prabhuji, that everywhere there is a soul? Sorry, I didn't quite follow it.
Yes, everywhere there must be soul, I guess, because in Ishopanishad it says that, right? Animate and inanimate. Krishna exists everywhere. Okay.
Ishavasyanam sarvam.
Yeah, Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkinchat jagatyam jagat tena tattena. Not that other sloka also. We read many slokas actually, but one of the purport says that animate and inanimate. Krishna exists everywhere. So that means these are inanimate. That means mountains or whatever we call sand, they are inanimate. So Krishna.
Oh, so I'm just reading the translation for that verse. Ishavasam sarvam yadgincha jagatyam jagat. It says everything animate and or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So all animated and inanimate things, they're saying belong to Krishna, so we should only accept what is necessary for us.
Okay,
so everything belongs to Krishna is what they're saying, all animate and inanimate things.
Okay.
The soul is present there too, right? Then.
No.
If it belongs to Krishna.
It belongs to Krishna. We're saying animate and inanimate. So the inanimate doesn't have a soul. That's the difference between animate and inanimate. That's my understanding.
So animate means the equal meaning is moving, movable, which has life in it.
Which has life in it.
So inanimate, no life in it, like a stone, they don't have life in it. They cannot move around.
But it is
mud.
But it is made of material elements, and so it belongs to Krishna. So we
that's all.
So we cannot claim it as ours.
Okay.
See, that's why Prabhupada used to say, Bhagavad Maharaj said, people identify themselves with their country, with their land. All that belongs to Krishna. people are fighting, oh, this is my country, oh, this is my country, and things like that. That's not really, that's not the right perspective. This verse is saying, Ishavasidam Sarvam, everything belongs to Krishna. Use it in Krishna's service. No payment is yours.
I think there's an example given related to that, Prabhuji, in the book itself. It says like, the things the materials what we use to build the house or any building, all this is like, from nature. So that is from Krishna. So you cannot say, this is mine. You cannot claim that as yours.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's the example for inanimate, I think.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I
Hare
have
Krishna.
Thanas pranams also Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, so what kind of devotional service are we performing now, Prabhuji? Like, are we trying to practice devotional service, or are we trying to do sadhana bhakti? Like, I just wanted to know that, Prabhuji. Like the 4 regulative principles, all these come under any category of bhakti?
Yes, I mean, these are all components of sadhana bhakti. And so we are following these in order to, under the larger umbrella of sadhana bhakti. I mean, what exactly was your question?
But sadhana bhakti comes again under pure devotional service, right, Prabhuji? But we are not.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Madhuri.
So it is one of the division in pure devotional service. So, but we are not practicing pure devotional service. So I had a difficult time in understanding that. Like we say we are performing Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, but actually that is a part in pure devotional service. So how can we understand that, Prabhuji?
So the way to understand it is that pure devotional service is a state that can be attained. But when we follow the principles of sadhana bhakti, we may not be in pure devotional service state at this point, but but we are taking steps in the right direction. By following the practices of sadhana bhakti, we can eventually get to the stage of pure devotional service. So sadhana bhakti can lead to pure devotional service, but we are not at that stage of pure devotional service. And so the point that I was making earlier is that because we are not perfect, our devotional service is not perfect. But we are following the perfect instruction. We are following the perfect instruction, meaning the instruction that Krishna has given, the instruction that the acharyas have given, that follow sadhana bhakti, follow the 4 regulative principles, chant Hare Krishna. These are perfect instructions. If they are executed perfectly, they will lead to pure devotional service. So that's why, and our goal is to attain pure devotional service, but we may not be there already. So I think your point was that sadhana bhakti is pure devotional service. No, sadhana bhakti is a process that can take you to pure devotional service. And even though we are following sadhana bhakti or trying to follow the process, we may not be at the perfectional stage yet. Does that answer your question, Madhuri?
Yes, Prabhuji, because I was reading the introduction part of Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
There it had mentioned like our activities are to be purified, and the purified activities are called bhakti. So so that's why I had that question. Like the sadhana bhakti comes under bhakti section. So but here it is mentioned like our activities are to be purified, and that purified activities are called bhakti.
What page
So,
exactly in the introduction, just so that I
then
can.
page number 10, Prabhuji.
Okay. Um,
Maybe at the bottom of the page, there is a paragraph starting with when. So
Yes.
before that, in before paragraph, maybe from bottom, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 lines above. You can see that.
I heard one simple analogy, Prabhu. Can I share that?
sure, please do that.
Yeah. So it is like, for example, in Mataji's case, you're a dentist, right? You took almost what, 3 years to complete, or 3 or 4 years?
8 years, Prabhuji.
Yes. Oh, wow. 8 years. So in our case, suppose I did engineering. So at the beginning, when I enrolled in engineering, I was never called as an engineer, right? So the title engineer will come at the end of 4th year, once you complete all that. Until then, even though we say that he's doing engineering, but he's not an engineer. Okay, so I'm in spiritual life, but I'm not a spiritualist. In the sense, I'm not a bhakta yet. I'm in spiritual path, but I'm not a bhakta yet. I'm in engineering path, but I'm not an engineer yet. Okay, so it takes time. At least material engineering degree takes 4 years to complete, and then only you'll be called as engineer. Similarly, in devotional life also, we have entered into sadhana bhakti. That doesn't mean that we are pure bhaktas. It will take a lot of time. It will take time.
Yeah, it's very good, very nice analogy, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And so this process, so like when you said, Mataji, that the process of bhakti is itself the purifying process. That's what it is. Meaning, as part of bhakti, we are required to chant and eat Krishna prasad. So the process of chanting and eating prasad, that purifies us. We may not be 100% pure immediately, but we are getting purified. So that is the point here, that the process of bhakti, it's a purifying process. It keeps purifying you more and more and more. And you keep pursuing it, keep following it, it will keep purifying us. And the hope is that Krishna says that when you are following this process, then at the end of this life, the Lord is pleased to help you come back to the spiritual world.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
You are welcome, Adit.
Probably, actually, I mean, literally, I understood what Mataji was asking, but honestly speaking, I didn't understand the question, because we're all doing devotional service means we're all doing whatever will please Krishna. And there are so many things, and they say, you engage, don't do for your sense gratification, do for Krishna. Means, like, let's say I'm eating food, I shouldn't think that I'm eating because I like it, I want to enjoy the taste. But if you think, okay, I'm only eating remnants of the prasadam which is offered to Krishna, that means it is a devotional service. So with that understanding, I'm confused with the what Mataji asked question. Maybe if you can help me, what the question is about, Prabhuji.
So her question was that the process of bhakti is pure devotional service, right, Mataji? And so she was asking whether that is the case, and what Muktasanga Prabhu was saying and what I'm saying is that the process of bhakti is the purifying process. We may not be pure devotees just because we are following the process of bhakti. We may not be pure devotees just yet. But like he said, if you're in engineering college, you keep doing what you're doing, eventually you will graduate as an engineer, or if you're in dental school, eventually you will graduate as a dentist. So same way, if we are following this process of bhakti, the Lord will be pleased with our effort.
So it's a process, basically.
Because the process involves austerities, sacrifices. Instead of watching TV, somebody is sitting there and chanting because they have to chant 16 rounds. There's a sacrifice involved. And Krishna observes that, he appreciates that.
And that sacrifice is for Krishna to make him
Correct.
happy. So that's how our process gets purified. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
But the process is for Krishna, because why are we doing it? Because Krishna says do it. Prabhupada has told us to chant 16 rounds, not out of any whimsical consideration on his part. This is the instruction from Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mother. These are all very, very, very nice questions.
If no one has any question, then we can end here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before ending, I would like to. I have two announcements. So first thing is tomorrow, Saturday, 7:30. As we all know, we have session starting on Chaitanya Bhagavad. His Grace Adhikadadar Prabhu. He'll be leading the class, and tomorrow is the first session about Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. So he'll be explaining. Please join at 7:30. Same, not same Zoom credentials again. It's a different Zoom credentials. I'll be sending that to you on a WhatsApp group. And Sunday is our Pauganda Pravachan session at 10 a.m. EST. So 10 to 11 Sunday. So this is basically to encourage kids who want to preach and wants to discuss about Vedic subjects. So this is a good platform, and people from India, they all join, all the kids. It's a very enthusiastic program. So please ask your kids to join, and you also can join, and it'll be very interesting. Kids, they do wonderful presentation, ecstatic. I mean, you can't even believe they do wonderful presentations and narrations also. You know, the kids aged between 7 and sometimes 13, 14. Now, the age is not really strict, but I'm telling, at least for now, those kids have joined and they have given nice discourses. 8 years old, 9 years old. So please join on Sunday at 10 a.m. It is on the same Zoom credentials. Okay, so that's all I have to. And thank you again for taking this class. And I'll see you next Friday. We'll all see you next Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhuji,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Humble pranams to you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Say Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Prabhuji.
much.
Again,
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhuji. Thank you.